We have to have a real conversation. And I'm going to expose a bunch of lies live, and I'm going to go from story to story, pointing them out. I've not read any of these stories ahead of time. You know, I never do that. But people aren't looking at the big picture. Everything's focused around, as we see breaking news right now out of CNBC, that inflation expectations are plunging. From a very closely watched University of Michigan study, a lot of people don't realize that the Fed has not gotten control over inflation, because the most important type of inflation, food and energy, is still inflated. It's going to get worse as the BRICS nations peel away from America. And most people can't get past the headlines that show that oil is down in the 70s, when this is the time of year where oil always drops in price. But on top of that, you have countries like Saudi Arabia and Russia that are hell-bent on making sure oil prices rise. But you have to realize that a lot of traders have actually priced in a collapse of our economy. Oil traders. Oil always trends down when traders believe there's going to be decreased economic activity because there's going to be more layoffs. We're going to talk about that too. People don't know how big of a deal this is. They only look at something that a blip. Oil's dropped before for a handful of months, and then boom, off to the rocket ships again. And it's going to happen this year. It's going to happen in 2024. The story, first one I'm going to talk about, just briefly go over. Gold poised for a first weekly drop in 4 before U.S. jobs data. Before. Gold's down like $30, right, today, I think. Big whoopity-doo. It says here, gold prices were flat on Friday as markets looked forward to critical U.S. jobs data for more clues on the Federal Reserve's monetary policy decision, although a firmer dollar kept bullion on track for its first weekly fall in 4. Gold is steady at $2,027. Gold's $2,000 an ounce. Do I believe it's going to drop more? Could it come down in the 1900s? Absolutely, absolutely. But I just want you to realize that before, all the news media is quoting, a downturn in the economy, gold is sitting at all-time highs. Okay, just know that. It's totally different than 2008. Do you feel like jobs are more abundant, that the White House has done its job? I don't. I know the difference between reading these numbers and seeing that there are more part-time jobs coming out and we are losing full-time jobs. I know that the American consumer is tapped and they're frustrated and stressed and they're living paycheck to paycheck. I know that we're at all-time highs for credit card balances, for student loan balances, loan balances. We know that defaults are picking up rapidly. I know what a collapse feels like because I've been through this twice, and I actually got out of the stock market, moved my retirement, my small retirement at the time in the year 2000 into bonds, and let the dot-com crash happen, and I crushed it because I kept my purchasing power, like a bunch of people are doing right now in gold, as opposed to real estate. I know what it was like to sell off my homes in 2006 before that crash. You're being lied to drastically. So right now, the breaking news is that this University of Michigan study is showing that inflation's dropping. Well, this is what's dropping. This is the truth. People are buying less big screen TVs and furniture. Those are actually inflation indicators. That's some of the things they watch for inflation because they don't have the money, okay? Most people, and it started plummeting in October because that's the month everybody had to start making loan payments, student loan payments, which on average cost around $430 a month. Okay, for the average lender, the borrower, I mean. Okay, we are seeing record rates on repos as far as cars. It's gotten so bad in the foreclosure market that the VA, that the Senate was alerted of how many veterans were or military members were being evicted, foreclosed on their houses this month, so they put a stop to it. All they're doing is they pushed it off until May. They're trying to hide the fact of how bad things are. They just got to get to the election. People are being lied to right now. I'm looking up another story right now. Here we go. This is the jobs numbers. Goldilocks. Jobs rise 199,000, beating estimates as striking workers return. The unemployment rate drops. This is out of Zero Hedge. I'm gonna show you the reality of the headlines on the other side of this in a second. But can you do me a favor? Type 1 if you think that these are lies from the government, that the unemployment rate is not increasing. Or that it's not getting better, that more people are losing jobs. Type 2 if you think, yeah, it's just conspiracy theory, Ninja's crazy. It says here, ahead of today's jobs report, which we previewed as being focused mostly on the unemployment rate, we said that the whisper was for a stronger report due to the mandatory political talking points for the White House taking credit for all those strikers coming back to work, because they can actually say, oh, those are jobs gained. And lo and behold, that's precisely what happened. With the total number of jobs gained in November coming in at 199,000, above last month's 150,000, and more importantly, well above the consensus forecasts of 183,000. It said the number, and let me show you this chart actually. Let me pull this up. This is a chart going back to 2020, and you could see the one red bar in unemployment was when the nation shut down, right? Okay, so you can see the nation shut down. But this is where we are right now. Do you feel strong even with these numbers? These are obviously a lot lower than the past, all right? So it says here the number included about 47,000 formerly striking auto and motion picture workers because they were listed as unemployed. So think about that. This is a great print. Look at these jobs. Thank you, White House. No, you see, they were striking in the first place, all these unions, because they don't understand how inflation works, that the government and the central bank, which are two separate entities, actually are the ones causing inflation. See, we don't have a supply dynamic where food is inflating because we have less of it. We actually have plenty of food, but it's because of the velocity of money and what the central bank, in coordination with the government, does with their spending habits, their monetary policy. So all these striking workers went on strike. They're now listed as unemployed, and then they can get put back on the dole. So everything's good. See, this is a lie that you need to understand very seriously. It says, the BLS noted that job gains occurred in healthcare and government. Employment also increased. Oh, and just so you know, healthcare, there are hospitals going bankrupt around the country. Let me know down below if you're part of this wave. Healthcare workers are getting laid off like you would not believe, especially in elective services. Employment also increased in manufacturing, reflecting the return of workers from a strike, which was also noted above today's White House main talking point. Still, Omar Sharif, founder of Inflation Insights LLC, notes that if you strip out the strike impact over the last 2 months, private payrolls averaged 118,000, that companies with a 6-month average of 130. So the direction of travel is weaker. The pace is relatively soft and will probably be welcomed by the Fed. Of course, as has been the case for every month this year, previous month's data was revised lower. So let me do this too. The people need to understand where the Federal Reserve, everybody's banking on the Fed lowering rates. Okay, the Fed's not going to lower rates if the official print is showing that unemployment is actually going down. Okay, people need to understand this. But it blows me away that nobody gets this. Wall Street is betting, even gold price is betting that they're going to pivot and lower rates. That's not going to happen when you keep coming out with numbers like this that are these Goldilocks numbers. Okay. Still, the number was solid, especially when considering the number of employed workers was counted by the household survey. Average surged by 747,000 to 161 million. Following several months of disappointing prints, including last month's 348,000 drop and rising to the highest on record, this was the third biggest increase in the household survey this year. So again, why would the Fed lower rates if all of a sudden these cooked books are showing good numbers? See, if the government was smart, they would go, oh yeah, we're trying to buy votes and make things look good. But the only way things really do get better is we pump in a bunch of monetary heroin, okay? We can't do that unless things are bad. See, this is where you have a government that's hell-bent on lying to you so that they can get reelected, and then everything comes crashing down right after. They know that for sure. But the Fed's not going to lower rates based off of these good numbers, quote unquote, which we know are lies. So check this out. Let me prove the lie. I'm just going to type in Google right now, layoffs. Layoffs. All right. Stellantis announces layoffs at Toledo Jeep plant. I wonder why. 17 hours ago. Washington Post Workers strike as layoffs loom. That's Washington Post. All right, who cares about them? Salesforce becomes less about perks after their layoffs. They just had a massive layoffs. Here's layoffs.fyi. This is a tech layoff tracker and startup layoff lists. So they got websites just for this. Well, why would they have that? Well, it's because it's in demand because there's a lot of layoffs happening. Well, that's weird. Here's a comprehensive list of 2023 tech layoffs on TechCrunch.com. Wells Fargo 3 days ago, CEO warns of severance costs. We did a story on that, right? But nearly $1 billion because they're laying off so many people. Now they're in trouble with how much they're going to have to pay in severance. Well, wham. All right. Spotify 4 days ago announced 17%. Twilio lays off 5%. Now think about this. Twilio laying off 5% of employees and unit activists want to divest. So that's one thing, 5%. What I said, when you start seeing companies laying off over 10%, we're going to double digits, we're crashing. Well, Spotify is just one company this year. There's tons of companies that have laid off more than 10% of their employees. All right? We've actually seen layoffs before November started in Amazon. That's supposed to be their busiest time. No, they're laying people off. They're busy laying people off, firing them. See, things aren't good. You're going to find out in January how bad fourth quarter was, and then we're off to the races with that news cycle. It says here, and if people are like, what do I do? I'm like, save money. Don't get into debt. Pay off debt. Save up money for the greatest housing crash ever. So don't know what to tell you. It's that simple. But it takes hard work. It actually takes discipline because there's not a lot of Americans that are disciplined right now. They're running out and going, I can get a 0% rate card. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff. No, you should be using that 0% rate card to go and transfer your credit card balance over to it and pay that thing off. Stop putting things on it. But that's why we have very few very successful people in this country and a lot of poor people or lower middle class. Okay? Type 3 if you agree with that. Type 3 if you understand how serious that statement is. Because not a lot of Americans understand or humans understand how big of a deal this is. So Stellantis, they talk about 1,200 people are being laid off. 1,200 people at the Stellantis Toledo plant, right? So you hit the news tab and it says Salesforce becomes less about perks. We talked about that. Bungie devs say atmosphere is soul crushing amid layoffs and cuts and fear of total Sony. Hold on, let me read this one. Total Sony takeover. So this is another company. 1 month after a major round of layoffs impacted roughly 100 Bungie employees of 1,200. So that's right under 8% layoffs. And people are like, I don't care. I don't work for Bungie. That's 100 people. Well, you have to understand there's tons of, that's just tons of stories of layoffs. UPS layoffs in Louisville draw rebuke and strike threat from Teamsters. Well, that's not going to work out for you, Teamsters. See, these companies are getting crushed. So what, you want to strike and have them pay you more? Then they're going to lay off more people. It's like all the people that wanted, that the government did, honestly, in California. Hey, all these fast food workers, you should get $20 an hour. Yeah, give us more money. We don't want to have high aspirations. We all worked at fast food places. I worked at a place called Plum Chicken and had to wear a bright pink shirt. I'm on. I had to do it. I needed a job when I was young. We all had those stepping stone, but they're not stepping stone jobs for a lot of people. So yeah, give us $20 an hour. Cool. And now you guys are all laid off and we're going to have robots take your orders. People have no financial education because it's meant that way. We need financial education in this country. Nike quietly cuts employees in rolling layoffs. That's a day ago. So I guess Jordans aren't selling out right now. Air Jordans. Rare layoffs hit the New Yorker, and a unionized staff hits back. Oh, that's cool, because that story was put out by the Washington Post to attack the New Yorker, and I just read you a headline that the Washington Post is laying off people. Isn't that cool? See, my point being is that they're lying to you. So are you going to sit back and take the lies and get poorer in this next crash? Because I don't know if you understand how this works, but a lot of people got super poor down in the middle class during the Great Recession. Are you going to do something about it, or are you going to sit on the sidelines? Save money, get ready, get focused, invest in yourself. I'll put a few more links to the 80% off to the crash course. This is the last month it's ever going to be offered for this price. It's going up 10x. in January because we're taking this to a whole new level. We put this out for a year, and I'm excited to see where my students are going. I'm excited to see where you're going. I mean, you can get all this information in books and online for free. Just go do it. If you're serious about it, though, that's the plan. The plan is written out below. It's how to prepare for the real estate crash and how to filter through all this crap that you're being lied to about. With that being said, I thank you so much for watching. I got to get to work. The Economic Ninja has got a fire engine to check out.